podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for All About Android is provided by CacheFly at CacheFly.com.
This episode of All About Android is brought to you by Gazelle, the fast and simple way to sell your used gadgets. Find out what your used Samsung, HTC, and other Android devices are worth at Gazelle.com. And by 99 Designs, the world's largest graphic design marketplace. 99 Designs connects businesses seeking quality, affordable designs with a community of more than 280,000 graphic designers. Visit 99designs.com/AAA to receive a free Power Pack upgrade valued at $99. And by Prosper. Prosper is a peer-to-peer lending marketplace which connects people who are looking to borrow money with those who have money to lend. Visit prosper.com/twit and receive a $50 Amazon.com gift card when you get a loan. Hello and welcome to another episode of All About Android, episode 155, recorded on Tuesday, April 1st, 1985. We are your weekly source for the latest news, hardware, and apps for the Android faithful. I'm Jason Howell.
I'm Ron Richards.
And we have sitting right next to us, Miriam Jouar, returning to the show, Pebble, Tank Girl Online.
Yo.
All over the map.
How's it going, everyone?
Good. It's good to have you back.
Thanks for having me. It was a little bit of an adventure getting here.
Well, that's what happens in the Bay Area when it rains.
Freaked out about the rain, apparently.
People forget how to drive.
As a Canadian, I was laughing but for 2 hours, the whole way. It was hilarious. I was look at you!
Well, you got to amuse yourself somehow
anyway,
when you're on the road. Yes,
Thanks
but you
for the
did make it. Absolutely. Well, hey, you know, we're the Bay Area. We like to entertain by showing you just how poorly we drive. We have a lot to talk about this week, of course.
Much clearer now.
Whoa.
So, yeah.
Okay. Hey, there we are. We're back in HD, sparkling HD, and instantly we're transported to the year 2014. We have a lot to discuss today. New policy changes for developers, hardware reviews in studio. Miriam brought along a bunch of awesome hardware: the HTC One M8, the Sony Xperia Z1s, the Nokia X, the Nexus 5.
I actually
think that
did
was
not
just kind of
bring
in
the
there.
Z1s, now that I think of it.
Was that?
I forgot it, but you know,
that's okay.
Let's not talk about it.
Yeah, we can
not-
talk about
It's
it.
not one of the 17 devices in your pockets.
Yes, somehow it stayed on my desk. But you know what? I got a bunch for you. It'll be great. You'll love it.
Excellent. And I think a much requested update to LastPass, among other things. I'm very excited about that. But before we get into the news, it's probably appropriate. This is not an April Fool's Day thing to point out. March 29th, 2011 was episode 1 of All About Android. And so I guess this makes this episode the 3-year birthday of the show.
So 3 years of All About Android.
And I went back and kind of like skimmed through the first episode just to see what we were talking about.
What were we
Because it's
talking
kind of fun. You know, 3 years ago, what was the news? We were right around the release of Honeycomb, so we were all jazzed about Honeycomb and like what Android looked on a tablet that wasn't just like hacked together with, you know, gingerbread overlay and everything. HTC Evo 3D was coming out. There was a rumor that Google was developing a Nexus tablet with LG.
Ooh.
Doesn't that just like, I feel like that's today, right? Like we still hear these rumors.
That's too funny.
BlackBerry Playbook to support Android apps.
Ooh, is that a Nexus S?
Probably so.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nice.
Rumors of in-app billing, because at this point we didn't have in-app
In-app
purchases.
Yeah.
And the debut, of course, of What Would Andy Say, the famous segment.
Yeah. Wow.
So, yeah, it was kind of fun to kind of skip through there and
You know, I reviewed
see how
that.
slow we were.
I reviewed that Evo 3D for Engadget.
Yeah, and do you remember how you felt about that
Yes,
particular
I mean,
device?
I actually really liked it because it was more. It was like a sensation with the two 5 megapixel cameras for
Right.
3D. So I felt it was like basically a nicer looking sensation with a lesser camera. Was my takeaway, and
But
of course
with 3D.
stuck on Sprint,
Right.
which at the
That's
time
right.
was very much stuck. So anyway, that was my
Still
takeaway.
kind of
you know,
stuck,
the
but-
3D was a gimmick, and that's what bugged
Right.
me the most about it, is that, you know, you lost on the camera performance because of the regular performance, because of the 3D and la la la.
I mean, 3D was just such a big force from the standpoint of developers or marketers, you know, both in the TV space as well as in the phone. I remember when the HTC Evo 3D came out, and the question was, is this the next thing? Is this the next big thing for
know,
mobile?
right?
And yet, no,
No.
it really wasn't.
It was a joke, actually. I think they played a joke on us. They're like, suckers! Yeah, it was good times.
There you go. So that was 3 years ago today. And, well, today you're going to get what we have in the year 2014.
It feels like
Yesterday.
and at the same time, a lifetime ago.
Yeah,
like
totally.
it really does.
Oh,
yeah.
and you
look at me. That's my old apartment.
You look so much younger.
No, not really. I remember that haircut on Eileen, though. That's fine.
Yeah.
I forgot that you guys are in a different space.
Well, yeah, and I was switching as
you
we
were our
were
first
hosting,
TD.
and so that was not a lot of fun. So now I thank you, Brian, for switching for us. And thank you, sir.
No problem. I enjoy it.
All right. I enjoy it.
Glad to be back from vacation.
Welcome back, by the way. It's good to have you back.
Thanks.
What about me?
Oh, yeah.
and you,
too,
whatever.
Ron. That guy.
You're back. Yeah. Anyways, let's get to news.
Sure, let me just
Let's
hit
do
the
it
button.
right now.
With audio.
There we go.
With audio for some of it.
It's okay.
It's gonna be one of those shows. So the news that we've all been waiting for, at least that I've been waiting for, so I can mentally prepare for my ultimate denial. But Google I/O launches their 2014 website with information about tickets as well as the registration lottery, which is indeed a lottery, or however you want to call it. It's not just a simple register and hope to buy tickets. You got to enter your name in, and they'll randomly pick who's going to get to go. Here are the details you need to know. Its sign up starts at 5 a.m. Pacific time on April 8th. Runs until
Somebody at Google right now is laughing their heads off.
Exactly. Yeah. That's harsh. And then registration closes at 5 p.m. Pacific time on April 10th. Tickets will be randomly selected from people who enter their details. Prices, if you get selected, are $900 for tickets or $300 for academic tickets. And I/O is going to be on June 25th to the 26th. So
they're really going with this whole thing that they did with Glass, where they were like, "You'll feel like you're winning, but then you're still paying us lots of money."
That's exactly what I thought. I was like, wow. So I'm going to enter for a chance to pay you $900.
Yes, exactly.
That's
but you get
awesome.
a lot of valuable stuff and knowledge out of that as well.
Yeah. So you can, if you want to read all the info, you can go to google.com/events/IO, and they've got a fancy new website all about the Google I/O that answers all your questions, all the information, so you can prepare to wake up early if you're here in California and register. I have submitted my press request.
And what did you put in special notes?
So on the form to register for press, it says, who are you? What outlet do you represent? What are you planning to cover? And then there was one box that says, is there anything else that we should know? And I just put in the link to the YouTube video of my Google Glass reaction.
Perfect. That's all they really need to know.
That's good.
Yeah, no other, just like that link. And hopefully whoever's reading it has already seen it or knows who I am or is a good-natured person.
If that works, this is vindication. This is retribution.
Exactly. I feel like that was a Brian Brushwood kind of move.
Yes.
It was like a,
But I think it might just work for you.
I could have been like, well, I was in this video where I used Google Glass. But
No,
I was
too
like,
many words.
boom.
Just give us video.
Here's the
Boom.
link. Yeah, there you go.
So normally, do you attend Google I/O?
I normally do. There's a good chance I might be able to attend as Pebble because they're Google, the folks at Google are friends. We partner with them on a bunch of stuff. So I'm not quite sure what's happening there yet. I could apply obviously like as media since I still blog, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to be there. I'd like to be there. It would be the first time missing it in years if I don't go.
Yeah, it'd be hard to.
Yeah, it was tough to miss it after
That'd be
years.
kinda
You had to
harsh,
go, when you went every year, and then you were denied.
So stay tuned. We'll see what happens. But I'm excited about I/O. I'm wearing 2012 I/O shirt.
That's
right
smart.
now.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
And you wear that shirt every single day out of dedication.
No.
Okay. Well, see, you got to step up
tried,
to
though.
the plate,
That
though.
was pretty good.
Yeah. See.
All right.
There you go.
And hopefully they, as Pebble, it should be very interesting if the rumors that they will be giving out the Google Watch.
We'll see about
Yeah,
that.
so it could go either way. When we apply as Pebble, they might say, you're
Yes,
screwed,
or
they might say, you're welcome. We're not quite sure what's going to happen. So maybe
This
I
is
should
going
get
to
the
be
link from you
interesting.
guys about applying as press. You should email me
That's
that,
a good idea. Yeah.
just in case.
So in other news this is news that I didn't want to open the show with, so I moved it down,
enough.
even though it's very timely.
Fair enough.
Samsung and Apple are back in court again, fighting over patents, and we don't know much of anything at this point as far as kind of like the progress of this, because it really just started yesterday with jury selection. Today they kind of got into opening arguments and kind of the broad sense of what this is about, but it's sounding very similar to what we experienced a couple of years ago.
Tomorrow they're gonna kiss and make up. And
Oh, you think that's gonna happen?
There'll be like hot sex in the bleachers.
Whoa, hey,
Well, then
Well, logically,
we'll talk about that
They
next
argued-
week if that happens.
they were arguing.
For sure.
You know, they were arguing.
true.
you
today.
got to make up sooner at some point.
Yesterday it was
I was just thinking how it's been a while since we've had a good Apple Samsung legal
You
story.
had to think that
And
because,
then
like
sure
the
enough, I
state,
conjured
like
it
the
up.
Stay
Yeah.
Puffed Marshmallow Man, you conjured up another
I
patent.
said Apple Samsung 3 times and it
Dang it.
appeared. Yeah.
Apple's suing on 5 key patents. They said they had like 50 patents that they could have brought to the
Listen, we
table, but
could've,
that's
right?
too much. So they whittled it down to 5 key patents that they think should have been negotiated as part of a licensing deal when Samsung integrated them.
It's such a passive-aggressive legal
Yeah,
approach,
it
isn't
kind
it?
of
It's
is.
like, listen, Your Honor, we could have brought up 50 patents, but we're going to focus on these 5. Like, is that like a tactic? Like,
Yeah.
is that like we're doing you a favor? Like,
I think they're just, they really love each other. Yeah. It's like a love-hate relationship. And, yeah, I think this is like, like, let's go to court because we're angry with each other.
We have no reason to spend time with
It'll be
each
like,
other
oh,
unless
it's-
we're in court. So let's just do that.
It's all good.
they're looking for reasons to see each other. Like, like there's no. Honestly, you might be onto something that there could be someone on both legal team who are like they're like across the.
See, here's
courtroom,
my
they're making
theory.
eyes.
Apple doesn't go to most big trade shows.
Right.
They weren't at Mobile Congress. They weren't at CES. So every now and then they need to see Samsung.
Yeah.
And so what better way than court, right, to make that happen?
Yeah.
There you go.
No better place to meet a person than in court. Is what you're saying.
No.
That's true.
All the love stories that have come out of trials and oh Lord. So
Well, what else is there, Ron?
what else is there? I'll tell you what else is there. I
That was
feel
the worst
like
segment ever.
worst segue ever. I feel one of those shows. I feel like every year, 6 months to a year or so, we always hear about how Google is going to fix the camera on Android, and we're going to fix the problems with photos on Android. Literally 4 years, but now it's really happening. According to this article on Engadget, that sources within Google they're testing out a completely refreshed camera app that will ultimately be released in the Play Store. It's going to have a new UI. It's going to have background blurring, improved panorama, photospheres, no crop viewfinder, which basically means that what you're seeing on the screen is what the picture that you're taking.
Which, why hasn't that? Okay.
One would think.
Anyways.
As well as open support for third-party developers to create filters and other sort of
That's
add-ons.
interesting to me.
Very interesting. Will this
Is there precedent in Google's Android apps to that? To say like,
Not within the
this part of
apps.
our app, we're just going to let people develop their own filters for it. I think it's neat. It's a neat idea.
Yeah, I mean, not within the apps, but within the operating system. I mean, it kind of goes to the whole spirit of it, But within the app, I don't remember anybody making it for like
That would be
third-party
interesting.
add-ons. That'd be cool to have like a whole filter store that you can download to and people can submit to.
Maybe they're inspired by Windows Phone that has the lenses.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the
I'm not too familiar.
Instagramification of our photography in mobile, cameras and all stuff like that. I think everybody goes gaga for those filters and that sort of thing. And so now I think it's a good idea. What better way to get people to adopt a new camera app than to open it up to people to submit filters and add-ons and plugins and things like that for. So it could be interesting. Whether it solves the camera problem, I don't know, because it begs the question, how much of it is a hardware problem versus how much of it is a software problem?
I think it's mostly software because if you look at the camera on the Nexus 5, the hardware is really top notch.
Sure, yeah, I agree.
And I mean, it always hasn't always been the case. I mean, arguably the Galaxy Nexus was hardware, but I think it's good news. It means that Google's finally been listening to all this stuff we've been asking about, right? I mean, we've all been asking. Well, we'll see what happens, right?
Yeah.
And the third party opening thing is maybe just a little extra gravy or icing on the cake.
Yeah, like the doubter inside my head looks at this and I believe it all.
When
But
you
the
see
filter
it.
thing is the thing that I'm kind of like, I could see that being one of those things just kind of blown out of the water. Although it sounds really cool, and I would love to see that. For some reason, I have a hard time buying.
Well,
that
so
one,
here's one potential hope is that the photography on the glass is extremely good for the hardware.
Yeah,
So
I
we
agree.
know that Google can do a good job with software. The question is this going to happen this time around, regardless for filters or whatever?
And man, I hope they get the camera UI right this time. They definitely improved it, but
it's still not. Yeah, I'm with you.
continues to be just kind of frustrating.
It could go two ways, right? the way I see this is it could go the Apple direction, where it's very few choices and it just works every time, which would be good. But I would prefer it to go, like, to have that option as one of the auto settings, and then have the way to do manual controls, which you can do on this phone.
Sure.
That actually reminds me of a couple of years ago, a video game, Marvel vs. Capcom 3 came out, and there were 2 playing modes. There was a simple mode and an advanced mode. And the simple mode just used 2 buttons to do the thing. You don't have to worry about these crazy arcane combos. And the advanced mode was for the gamer who wants to do the up, left, down, B, right? All that kind of stuff.
Are you an expert
user
exactly.
or are you and so having that choice would be great, because that's the thing, is that, like, I don't consider myself an expert user. And I just want to take good photos and not have to think about it. And I find with the Nexus 5, I'm constantly, I'm hitting the thing. I'm trying to find the exposure, like +1, +2, -1, -2. And because of that wheel thing, it's impossible. I have a drink in my hand. I'm trying to do it at a show, and it's just not that conducive. And so, like, if they can make it just dumb simple, or like you said, have an option for the real power users, that's a good approach. So we'll see.
Agreed.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, no matter what, because it's more camera
it
apps
needs help.
good. And also, the problem with third-party camera apps, there are lots of really good ones, but with Android, they don't really have access to the ISP, right, to the low-level stuff. So you don't really get, like, for example, most camera apps on the Nexus 5 don't support HDR+. And so what do, right? Like, you kind of have to wait. Personally, I use the first-party apps no matter what phone I'm on, even if sometimes it makes me cringe and drives me crazy, because I know that it's the closest thing to the hardware that I'm going to get, right?
Absolutely.
It's the intended use, right?
Right.
Yeah. So.
Right. The hardware and that particular software were created closely together. So. And finally, new coming soon, possibly to your device, powered by Android, as a kind of a marketing attempt by Google, I guess, to spread the word of Android. It's now mandated as part of the Google Mobile Services Agreement to be displayed on new devices following design guidelines that Google laid out in detail. The phrase will appear during the boot animation phase. It already appears on the HTC One M8, I believe, right?
Right here, yeah.
Which Miriam has. The Galaxy S5 is said to have it. And then there was just an update pushed out to the Moto X that has it now. So we're seeing this. I mean, I don't know what you say about this other than, okay, good move, I guess.
Sure. I mean,
spread the word of Android.
It's odd to me, because I think when Andy Rubin was still running the show, and Sundar was focused on Chrome OS and Chromebooks and Chrome, I had this feeling, and we discussed this on the Engagement Mobile podcast many times, I had this feeling that the Android brand was going away.
So did I.
Perhaps we would see a new mobile OS that was heavily based on Chrome.
Yep.
And that never actually happened. What happened is Andy left and Sundar took over, and now Android's kind of back on the forefront. And they want to market it, and they want to brand it.
Right.
Well, and I'm still confused, though, because we're seeing success on the Chrome team, and we're seeing success with Chromecast, but I feel like Chrome says multi-platform.
Right.
Where Android is just Android, and if they did make that move to make it just a Chrome platform, it becomes confusing to the iOS folks, so that sort of thing. So I wonder if that was the plan, and then they said, no, we got to go back over here, and so.
I mean,
who's sailing this ship?
Exactly.
That logo to
like
me,
a Monty Python animation. Like,
that logo to me isn't very appealing. And
no,
that's,
that logo,
that's
dated.
That's what bugs me about it. It's it feels like I'm back in 2008.
Yep.
On the G1,
Right. Yeah. Right.
I agree.
So they should have refreshed the design at the same time as they made this thing happen, because obviously they're imposing it on everyone.
And it's also funny because if you look at the just general Google design sense, it's very thin font, like that sort of thing, and that Android logo is just so blocky and
Bold.
like thick, and it's not. It doesn't see. It definitely does seem out of place.
Yeah. Other exciting policy news.
Ooh, I love policy
Isn't this
news.
the policy section of the week? We all love this. But this is actually good stuff here. Google made some changes to its developer program policy for Google Play. The focus of this particular update appears to be targeting developers using shady, deceptive promotional methods for their apps that don't disclose certain things like, in-app purchases, the methods of doing so, auto install of an app through an ad without disclosure that you're actually installing the app, unsolicited SMS promotion after the fact, and more. Basically tricking users into installing your app is a no-go, and I think we could all agree that that's a good thing. Yet again, this is one of those things that you're like, why wasn't that there in the beginning? But maybe they just didn't expect that it would be such rampant abuse.
So I have an exciting piece of news.
Okay.
So as you guys know, tomorrow Build is starting Microsoft's big developer conference. So, all the rumors so far have been, some new Windows Phone action and Windows and devices, and Nokia is obviously involved because they almost acquired, but not quite, because there was this delay with China, was it last week? Anyway, but here's what I'm hearing, and this is really well substantiated from, well-trusted sources deep within Microsoft and Nokia, and this is what's really exciting. They're actually going to announce, Satya Nadella is going to go on stage tomorrow. I'll be there at the keynote, and he's going to announce. Are you ready for this?
I don't know if I'm ready for it, to be honest.
They're going to throw out Windows Phone and go Android all the way.
That was the rumor from all those months ago. Yeah.
And you know what else? All the Windows Phone devices are going to get updated to Android. Yep. Just like that. So you heard it here first on All About Android.
You definitely did hear it first. First. You heard it with Miriam first.
Wait, when does the conference? The conference starts on April 2nd, right? Doesn't it?
Yes.
Okay.
April Fools.
Wait a minute. Oh, man, just check out the chat room. They had no idea. They thought, you did sound pretty convincing there for a little while, though, yes.
I do the announcer voice really well.
Yeah, it's well done.
You were nailing it
the
there.
The greatest thing is that the chat room thinks that the whole lower third change is an April Fool's joke, but that's actually the new look of the show.
Yeah, we like to make it more simple.
Yeah, exactly.
Make it look like VHS.
That's awesome.
Or beta.
200 lines, 4x3, SD. Well, half of that probably now.
Exactly. 5 pixels across.
That's
possibly.
Pop.
There you go. We are HD again.
So that's the last piece of news.
Excellent. Well, that's pretty big, and I'm happy that you saved it for this show.
Breaking news, Brian. That's some breaking news.
So here's the best part is somebody's going to pick this up on the web. You'll see.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah? You think? No. I guess you did say that you had sources, so that's apparently all people need to say these days.
You only have to drop the hint a couple of times, and I picked up on that.
Hint? What are you talking about? Drop?
Thank you, Brian. All right, let's pause. Let's take a break. Thank our first sponsor of today's episode, and that would be Gazelle. Perfect for this episode. Why? Because we've got a bunch of awesome devices on the show to show off, and you might have a device that isn't quite as awesome, and you want to get rid of your once awesome device and trade it up for an even awesomer device. If you're thinking about getting the new HTC One, the Samsung Galaxy S5, a new Nexus tablet, Nexus 7 tablet, Moto X, whatever you want to find, whatever you want to buy for yourself, you have an old device that you need to get rid of. And Gazelle probably wants to buy that device from you. They can buy your used Samsung, HTC, Android devices. What you got? Just go to their site. It's gazelle.com, and you can search for your device and lock in your price today. And you're going to send that device into Gazelle when you get your new one, because Gazelle's offer is good for 30 days, which is what makes it so great, right? Your device does not get more valuable over time. It gets less valuable. So if you lock in that price now, 30 days from now, that price is still good. It's locked in for you, and you can send it off to them. Go to gazelle.com, find your item, tell them the condition. They'll even buy broken phones and tablets, so check and see if they'll do that with the one that you have, maybe. Get a risk-free offer for your gadget and free shipping, and they'll get you paid fast by check, PayPal, or you'll get an extra 5% with an Amazon gift card. So go to Gazelle.com right now, get an offer for your used Android or Apple products. You'll get paid in cash. Payments are fast, usually within a few days of the item being received. Risk-free offers are good for 30 days, like I said. And Gazelle will actually also wipe your data for free. That's because they're trustworthy. They'll do it. If you don't wipe your data, they're going to do it for you anyways. So there you go. Gazelle has paid more than $100 million to over 700,000 customers. That's because it's easy. And for all those other reasons, free shipping and the fast process with no listing hassles. So what's your Android device worth? Take a quick minute and go to Gazelle.com to find out. Do it now, because your device may lose value the longer you wait. Thank you, Gazelle, for your sponsorship of All About Android. Keep coming back.
I have a US Robotics 1200 baud modem I was going to send back to Gazelle, but I waited too long. and now it's
Yeah,
not
they
worth
don't
as much.
they don't
Wait,
take that
wait,
one
wait,
anymore.
wait a little longer.
Okay, yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
And it'll be
Then
worth
it'll be
more.
retro
No,
chic.
no joke. Totally. This is a little different, but I recently had fiber installed in my office, like AT&T, like the hardcore, like 50 up, 50 down fiber, and it's this big old Cisco router. And in case your data goes down, they give you a modem that you can dial into the router to set the settings, and it is a US Robotics 38.4, like straight at it 20 years ago. They have not changed the bezel on those modems in 20 years. It looked just like the modem I used to use back in the early 90s.
But brand new.
But brand new, yeah, crazy. It blew my mind. Yeah, so anyway, there you go. Yeah. All right.
Awesome stuff. Well, it may be some time before Gazelle takes that back, but hey, you never know. Let's get into hardware.
That music lulls me. It lulls me into a hardware infused sleep.
Hardware.
So not so much news yet, but the promise of news. If you're watching today on April 1st, tomorrow on April 2nd at 8 a.m. Pacific time, Amazon's holding a press event that will focus on its video business. And a lot of the rumors and expectation is that it's going to be a Amazon branded set-top box, possibly with some gaming on it. So we've heard these rumors for the past couple of weeks that they're going to go this route. Whether it's a Kindle Fire or Amazon Prime kind of style device, if it has a gaming controller, we've seen that possible prototype. What do we think this is?
I
gonna
know
be?
what they're going to call it. Chromecast. Amazon Chromecast.
Probably.
And then they're going to have a date in court.
Yes. Well, yeah,
Because you know
absolutely,
that
if
they
that's
haven't
the
spent enough time together this year.
case. They've been missing each other. I'm very curious to see what they come out with. To see Amazon's take if it has gaming features kind of built into it. I think that's intriguing. I don't know. Are you guys excited for what they might have?
I think they've done a pretty good job with kind of reusing the core of Android for their own thing, and apparently people are really happy with the products. I mean, it's not my bag, like I don't have a Kindle Fire, but I've played with it, and I think I have to say it's pretty compelling.
I'm the one voice of reason, not reason, or the one voice of support whenever we talk about this. I feel like there's a lot of questioning why Amazon does this stuff, but there are millions of people who only have such brand loyalty.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
And you could build a business off those people alone. They've built how long has Amazon been around now? Like over 20 years now. They've built that base that they can roll out these products. I'm really curious to see what this looks like. So
we won't have to wait very long. Of course, the announcement happens tomorrow morning, so probably already happened if you're watching this on the downloaded version.
Exactly. So we'll be talking about it next week when it's old news.
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
So there you go.
So there you go. And such is the life of our show that exists on Tuesday night, and everything seems to launch on Wednesday morning.
Google's gotten the memo
Yes.
now. So maybe Amazon will catch up. I was just up in Seattle. I didn't get to... Actually, I did meet with Amazon, but not with their Kindle people. Or not
Next time you talk to them
Fire
about
people.
this.
Next time I'll let them
Really,
know. So,
they need to know.
yeah.
All right, so Miriam, this hardware section is pretty much turning into today the Miriam hardware section
Is it
because
is it Tank Girl Mobile Hardware Show?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay,
We need
cool.
a separate intro. We need a
So
bumper.
we have a camera set up, I hope.
Well, we have.
Let's see here.
I think we have an over-the-shoulder of some sort.
No, wait.
Uno
no.
momento, says
Okay,
Brian.
no problem.
He is working
I can
on
also
it.
do this.
Yeah, so what do you have
Whatever.
there, first of
So
all?
I brought. Okay, so I'm going to talk about 3 devices, but I only brought 2 of them because I have too many of them. Wait.
Oh, yeah, we
That's
didn't
the other side. Okay, I can do
didn't
this.
think about that.
Do you have a way to zoom? No,
Oh, the
that's
review.
cheating. So anyway, I brought the HTC One M8. It's kind of a handful of a name, right? HTC One M8.
Yeah.
I kind of wish I hadn't appended that this year.
Well, it's better than the all-new one.
Well, for sure,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
then it's also better than HTC One 2014.
Right, yeah. I mean, they kind
But
of...
anyway, I've got the M8 here, and I've got the Nokia X here, which takes a little while to wake up. But whoa, there we go. And I also want to discuss the Xperia Z1s, which I just reviewed on my
you just
blog.
did a review earlier this
and I
morning.
didn't bring it because I have too many phones.
Yes,
That's my excuse.
We know, we saw that.
We saw that.
So my takeaway on this guy, the M8, is, I was a huge fan of the HTC One, the M7 last year, and the only thing I wasn't 100% convinced about, by the end of year, it was starting to be one of those things where I was like, Snapdragon 600 was, after the Nexus 5, it set the bar, right? Like for performance in terms of processor. So I was kind of, halfway through the year, I was kind of hoping we'd see a refresh with just Snapdragon 800 and keep everything else the same. Because I love the design of, that's great. There we go. Yeah. I love the design of the HTC One, the original. And the only thing that was kind of like meh about was the camera, and not for what most people think. I think the M7 camera, what saved it was the OIS, right? Optical image stabilization. The Nexus has it. Most Lumias have it. The G2 and the G Pro 2 have it.
Got your camera.
Hey, look at that. Perfecto. How does this work?
Over here.
Wow.
There you go.
See. There we go. So, they did a good job kind of compensating for the lack of resolution with the optical image stabilization. So, sure, you can't zoom as much, but now you have really good low light performance.
Which is important.
But so this phone basically brings all these updates that I wanted. A slightly bigger screen. It's 5 inches, 1080p, 1080 by 1920. It's got the Snapdragon 801, which is even slightly better. And it has, this one's actually worldwide, I think, European or Asian units, so it doesn't have LTE for the US. So I've got stuck on HSPA Plus. But in the back here is this kind of interesting thing where they've got two cameras. You've got the 4 megapixel ultra pixel one here and a 2 megapixel depth sensor up there. And that's kind of interesting. But then you find out they removed optical image stabilization.
Yeah, that's a big
Which
bummer.
is like, okay, so now you're back to like the HTC One Mini, the HTC One Max, which both have the same ultra pixels without OIS. And you ask, why? Because the year before, the HTC One X and One S, both in the DNA, both had, all of them had like this 8 megapixel non-OIS camera that was really good in low light. So why not go back up to 8 megapixel? Like apparently they can't have the OIS in here because they have here, it's super smooth. It's like an X5. They can't have the OIS in here because it's not compatible with the depth camera. Because it can't calculate depth properly if the relative distance between the two cameras moves a little bit.
Oh, interesting.
And that makes perfect sense to me. But then if you know that, then go to 8 megapixel, no OIS, and give us some more resolution. Because it turns out
they've put so much time and effort into the marketing around ultra pixel that they kind of have to stick with it. It's their thing.
Here's the view on the Nokia X, and it's like the front-facing camera, which I can switch to right now, is 5 megapixel, and is, although not out of focus, is probably more resolution, better quality in a way than the rear camera. So, like, it doesn't really make much sense, right? So that's my bummer moment of the HTC One M8. But
fair enough.
But the rest is all absolutely brilliant, and there's some things they've done to, let me actually show you in the image gallery here. I've only taken one picture with this phone because I've actually gotten this particular phone today. And it was, I played with other people's phones for about a week, and I actually got, you saw the video, I got a chance to play with it before everyone else, like with the big boys, I guess. But so I took this picture on the way out from Palo Alto, and I purposely did it so that you got like a macro of a flower in the front and a stop sign in the back, so that I can show you some of the cool special effects that the depth, so it stores depth information along with each picture. And so there's a bunch of things you can do. One I really like is this one, where you kind of use this parallax to kind of give you a feel for depth.
Yeah, that's cool.
Right? So that works well with this shot, but then they have this feature called U-Focus, which lets you supposedly refocus. But on a shot like this, where the distance between these objects is really big and the autofocus on the camera actually focused really nicely on the flower, if I tap up here, it's trying to focus on, but look, there's, it's not really working that well. Let me just go back to the flower so you can see. So flower's nice and sharp, but this doesn't actually get quite nice and sharp when I focus on it. The flower gets a little defocused. So it's kind of like a software filter
Yeah.
based on
Although
the
it's a little
depth
bit more than the
information.
purely software
For
filter.
sure. It's using the depth information.
But
to
it just
calculate.
looks like that got so crowded.
Yeah, I was gonna say the noise
depth-
with
yeah.
the-
So
with
what I'm
leaves,
saying is that
yeah.
this is, and I'm not trying to say this is useless because I really do think that HTC is onto something with this depth camera. There's going to be more applications possible, especially with the Snapdragon 801. So it's an interesting trick, but it's kind of like we talked about it, the Evo 3D. It's a bit of a gimmick right now, and I would have much preferred to see them, pardon the pun, focus on the meat, the meat of the matter, which is
completely
really
agree.
give us a camera with no compromise. And to me, 8 megapixel OIS would have been better than 4 megapixel non-OIS with a depth sensor.
And that's exactly how I felt when I saw that there were two cameras on. I was like, okay, HTC, I understand what you're doing. You have to differentiate in this day and age with your devices in order to stand out from the crowd. And especially HTC has a lot to prove because they have to save themselves a little bit here. But that's exactly what you're saying. That's where you kind of you lock yourself down and you say, does our money developing this new feature, is that better spent just making sure that the camera is the best thing in the world? Because what do people use their phones for the most? Not the most for everybody, but cameras definitely at the top, near the top of the list for a lot of people.
Now,
and if that camera with two cameras in it, if that phone takes substandard pictures and that's what their money went into,
yeah, but I want to be
that's not
clear.
good.
I want to be clear that if you just kind of forget the history and forget the competition, the camera on its own stands alone and handles things pretty well.
Okay.
It is, it's an f over 2.0. It's a very fast lens. It does okay in low light despite the lack of OIS, but it's you can't zoom, and that's again you're back to this lack of detail. You can't get enough detail out of that camera. So you're gonna get, and it's very, very fast, and the depth camera helps autofocus a little faster. Let me actually show you some of the other effects on this. You can do this thing called so you can not just defocus the background, but you can actually pick these effects like this. So you can blur everything, kind of an emotion blur. This didn't come out very well, but it's kind of like it's I call it the aha filter. Actually, Brad Mullen and Engadget coined that term because everything gets pencilized in the background.
Oh yeah,
you can't really see it that well with this one. And then so there's a motion blur one. This one. So it supposedly cartoonizes the back, but you can't really tell very much.
I can see, yeah.
And then this one kind of just gives it a bit of a less saturation in the background. So it's kind of again, it's very gimmicky, right? So it's fast, it's good in low light, it could be better, and that's the disappointment because everything else about this phone is just so phenomenally good. Like it feels even better in hand than the HTC One was. The metal goes all the way around the edges.
It's one piece of aluminum now, right? Yeah, it's a unibody.
And it's just gorgeous. The screen is bigger, faster processor, better front-facing camera. It's got that dual LED flash like the iPhone 5S, which can change the color balance of the flash that it casts, so it gives you true tones.
That's nice.
It basically you're kind of like if they had nailed the camera, that's it. We'd be done.
Yeah.
Like we would be like, okay, I'll replace my Nexus 5 now.
May I give it a feel?
Absolutely. And
I heard it's too big.
If you
That was
double
the one
tap, by the
complaint I
way,
heard.
it unlocks.
I just want to feel the. I heard it's too big.
So it's taller by about half an inch, but it's not that much bigger than in width and thickness. It's not bigger than the original. Can you see it? Yeah.
So comparing that to the Nexus 5, it's
And
literally
so,
taller.
and so here's the thing, guys. You know how we talked about this depth thing and the gimmicks you can do with it. But Nokia's already doing the refocus stuff. And the way they're doing it on the high-end Lumias, it's a separate app, and it does 8 pictures in a row real quick at different focus distances. And it's
Real quick is
much
the key.
better. It's really fast. But the results are much better. You can literally focus on any part of the picture.
And then it only requires one camera.
And it only requires one camera. And that
actually
camera
it's
has
just-
OIS and is 8 megapixels.
Right, and it's a purely software thing because they even rolled that into a lot of their other devices. It was I think early on thought to be a very specific case for one device, and then eventually they broadened it out.
I mean, you have to stay steady because
you can have this
you need
on.
about a second to take those 8 pictures. But it's okay if you don't have any moving people in the shot. Like if you're just taking a nature shot or something. But isn't it gorgeous?
Nice.
I mean,
Very
it feels beautiful.
I mean,
And
where the HTC One was a phone that I really liked. That if I didn't have the Nexus 5, I probably would have had the HTC One.
Right.
But it always had that blocky sharp edge.
Yeah, it had
kind
the
of
sharp
feel.
edges. This
And
does
now
not
is
have the sharp
smoother.
edges
Yeah,
anymore.
exactly. Yeah, it's nice.
And it's nice and fast. I mean, really, and Sense, doesn't get in the way. Like last year,
Yes.
Sense did not get away, and it still doesn't get in the way. In fact, they've improved a lot of the UI stuff.
Well, they're also I noticed that if you swipe all the way to the left, you don't get Google Plus. You get their highlights thing.
Correct.
So like,
And
it
the-
looks like
so
they're
the Google
trying-
now still works by going up from the home button like the old days.
So it's almost like they're trying to emulate what is working in KitKat, but with its own HTC Sense spin, which is all right. I mean, it's not my thing, but that's cool.
So the other thing, they've added a micro SD card slot on this. So obviously you have 16 gigs in this particular one. I think 32 is another model. And there's a micro SD like right up above the volume button. And on the other side is 2 nano SIMs. Well, on this model it's a single SIM, but the slot is big enough for two SIMs. So you can't really tell which version you have until you actually pop the SIM tray, and then you see either one or two SIMs.
Right.
And I mean, those are really, again, this is another thing we wanted, right? There was no micro SD storage on the last model.
Yeah.
And the battery's bigger. The battery life on this thing is really good. It's like I can almost get 2 days out of it, which is better than my Nexus.
Wow.
But I still think, look, the Nexus, for the money, I mean, this is $700 as a Google Play edition.
Yep.
$650 unlocked. And I really, it's hard for me to justify, even though I love the design, the materials, the build quality, when you know what you can get with an Nexus 5.
Yeah.
It's hard.
It's such a good all-rounder, right?
Yeah.
So,
and it's probably good to point out also that the software, HTC's apps, like the Zoe camera, the newsreader, even the launcher, the Blink Feed launcher, those are all separate apps in the Play Store now.
yeah.
So,
So they did kind of pull a Google Play Services kind of thing approach, where they don't have to push software updates to the entire OS to update the HTC apps.
Oh,
so the Zoe, Blink Feed, and a few others, can't remember off the top of my head, probably the camera app, are all going to be updatable through the Play Store.
Yep.
And so I mean, you can look. You can't go wrong with this phone. It is one of the best Android phones. But just caveat on that camera. But I really am upset when I see people say, "Oh, the camera sucks. This is terrible." It's like that's not true. It's one of the better cameras out there. It's just they kind of missed the sweet spot, and that's why we're all kind of upset. But it doesn't mean it's a bad camera per se, right?
Cool.
So there you go.
So that's the HTC One M8, and then you have.
Then I have the
Nokia X.
Nokia X here. So this is not destined for the US at all. And just to be clear, this is an Android phone from Nokia. Yes, it is. And so I forget that so this is what the launcher looks like, and it looks very much like a Windows phone with the tiles. And by default, you don't. So you basically get a reskin Android with none of the Google services, none. So no store, no Gmail, unless you do what I did, which is root it. And then when you root it, oh, look at that. Now you have Gmail, the Play Store, Google Play Music, Hangouts, Chrome.
That's crazy.
And now so you need to root it. There's a very easy hack on XDA forums. You can find a way to do this.
Sure.
But here's the thing, guys. Okay, this is an €89 phone, and it's gorgeous. As you can see, it's super high quality for like all Nokias are. Well made. You could drop this thing, nothing bad would happen to it.
Is it like plastic? What is
It's
the
all
yellow?
plastic. Yeah.
It's €89. That's like what, $40?
If you pull this out like this, you'll see it's got dual SIMs.
Oh, wow.
And the battery and the SD card slot and the
I haven't seen a phone you can take the case off of in ages.
and look, what's interesting is that it comes in different colors. But look, you see how the corners are reinforced, right?
Oh, okay.
So basically, if this thing falls, you just buy a new cover. The whole thing protects the phone, and it's like nothing to buy a new cover.
Right.
Wow.
So they've done this with the Lumia 620, which is kind of the entry level, and the 520, their entry level Windows phone devices. But so the
Interesting.
€89 for this phone, and so here are the specs in a nutshell. It is very much a low range Android.
Yeah,
right?
it looks a little
So-
chunky to me. But I mean,
it
but
has-
you're paying.
So you're paying €89, which is
Nothing.
what, like $99 or something?
Yeah, probably
Unlocked
somewhere
with
around
dual
there.
SIM.
Unlocked.
SIM 1 is 3G capable in Europe, not in the US. SIM 1 and 2 are both quad band Edge.
Yep.
So right now I'm on AT&T on Edge. Display is 480 by 800. It's an IPS panel, which is not bad. I mean, it's not the greatest IPS panel. The camera is fixed focus 3 megapixels, so nothing to scream about.
Okay.
Dual core 1 gigahertz Snapdragon S4 Play, so very basic. And then it's got 512 megs of RAM. I think only one or like an abysmal amount of built-in storage because it has a micro SD card slot. They're counting on that. And a single button because that's actually the same UI concept as the what they call the Ashas, which is their entry-level smartphone-ish platform that they have. But here's the interesting thing. They make a plus version of this, the Nokia X Plus, and that's
they had 3 different phones.
Right, and so it's exactly the same physically, just has 768 megs of RAM instead of 512. Everything else is identical. And then they make the XL, which is like the X Plus spec-wise, but they put a big screen, 5 inches, still 480 by 800, and then they put a 5 megapixel autofocus camera. So that one has a much better camera, and a flash. But here's the thing:
they're like 20 euros difference.
So here's what I've learned about using this is that, as you can see from like the animation and stuff, it's pretty chunky.
Yeah, it's got a jitter.
It's slow. And then again, remember, this is not really available for sale yet, so they're going to streamline it a little bit. But the bottom line for me is that I kind of understand why they didn't put the Google Play services on there, because once I added them, it really slowed it down quite a bit. So out of the box, it's a pretty decent experience, even though it's kind of a crippled Android experience. But you get Microsoft services, and you get things like Nokia Mix Radio.
That's what it's all about for them. That's exactly what it's all about.
OneDrive and Skype and all that is baked in, and it's really nice for that.
Yeah.
So I think it's interesting. And I'm not quite sure what to think of it still, even though it's been a month since Mobile Congress.
Well, we should get used to it, right? Because your news is that tomorrow we're going to hear a lot more about Microsoft
but
is
on
going
the high,
all Android.
But it's going to be all on the high end. So it's going to be much better. And it's going to include Google Play services.
Okay, I'm very curious to see where this goes. And finally, we don't have to spend a lot of time on it because we probably should move out of hardware. But you posted a review this morning on the Sony Xperia Z1s.
Yes.
Sony's flagship.
This was announced at CES, I believe, and then launched on T-Mobile exclusive. It's a slightly improved version of the Z1. And you know what? It's a great overall phone, but really now that we know that the Z2 is coming from Mobile Congress, which fixes the 2 major issues with the phone, which is the kind of subpar display, which is an IPS. It's a 5-inch 1080p display, but it has terrible viewing angles. So the Z2 fixes that. And then the camera is 20 megapixels, but honestly, for a 20 megapixel camera, there's a lot it could be improved. I mean, it's not bad. Again, it does the job. It's one of the better ones, but you'd expect more, right? If you've used the Lumia with a 20 megapixel camera and you go back to using that thing, you're like, and it's software. I don't think it's hardware because that sensor is pretty damn amazing. So the Z2 hopefully fixes a lot of that. So the takeaway is that we just found out today, actually it was on Engadget, that Z2 is coming in May to the US. So my takeaway, my recommendation is don't buy the Z1s right now. It'd be unless you get a super good deal and you're happy with the display and the camera performance. Everything else about it is great and it's nice. It's a bit big, but it's thin and battery life is good and performance is snappy and the skin isn't too heavy, and LTE on T-Mobile and all that good stuff. So
cool.
There you go. Like you see it right there next to the Nexus and it's just like pretty chunky as you can see,
no kidding. Yeah, it's kind of hard to get that scale without.
It's also water resistant, which is really nice.
Yeah,
and it's
does it have those annoying port covers?
It has flap, but not for the headphone jack, which is the most important one, I'd say.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, and the charger, but hey,
the charger unfortunately has a flap.
Yeah,
but it seems pretty rugged.
Cool. Well, rest your vocal cords. Because
your turn.
We'll do an email while you rest up and get ready for the next wave.
Charge those phones.
Real quick here, Randy Bishop wrote in to say on last week's episode of All About Android, you were talking about the changes made to Google Keyboard. I happen to love Google Keyboard and it's been my default keyboard since Ice Cream Sandwich. However, Jason seems to have missed a feature that's been in the keyboard for at least the last few revisions. Jason mentioned a feature he wanted included where you can type in a shortcut such as IDK, and it would automatically generate the phrase "I don't know" in long form. This feature has been in Google Keyboard for some time, and I use it regularly. And basically, he gives the information as far as, going into your settings, Google Keyboard settings, personal dictionary, and then you can add specific words in there, which, of course, I know that you can do. You can add anything to your dictionary, but you also have the ability to add a shortcut for words. So if you want to transform all of your LOLs into laughed out loud and take the humor away from the saying, then you could do that. So there it is. It says, admittedly, the feature is buried pretty deep in settings, but there it is. It's very useful. So thank you, Randy. That's a great tip. Anyone who wants to do this with a Google Keyboard, there you go. You now have the information to do so.
Excellent. All right, let's take a break and thank our sponsor, 99 Designs. The fine folks at 99 Designs have been so supportive of All About Android, and we thank them for that. 99 Designs connects all types of people looking for great graphic design with a global community of over 280,000 graphic designers. Whether you need a new logo, mobile app, business card, t-shirt, or any other kind of graphic design, you'll find the right designer for your project at 99 Designs. So this is awesome. Listen to how it works. You tell 99 Designs what you need, and dozens of designers from the community will submit designs created just for you. You'll love seeing all the ideas roll in and see how everyone interpreted your project, and it gives you a wide array of choices. And so I've worked on projects where you've been stuck with the design, and you're like, oh, I wish we changed the logo.
Yeah, right.
And you got to keep moving forward. 99 Designs gives you tons of options. You give designers your feedback to help them refine their designs, and then select and pay for your favorite. It's that simple. So do you need fresh marketing collateral? 99 Designs offers all kinds of marketing design. You can get a sleek, affordable email template, banner ad, infographic, or even a vehicle wrap design, which is not easy, by the way. I've done that for a job. And that
I can't imagine that would be very easy.
Those are very difficult. So you can start your next graphic design project for as low as $199. Visit 99designs.com/AAA, and you can get a $99 power pack of services for free. A power pack gives you more designer time and attention. 99 Designs will bold, highlight, and feature your design project in 99 Designs Marketplace, and you'll get nearly twice as many designs. So visit 99designs.com/AAA, and we thank them for their support of All About Android. Get designing.
Yeah, get 99 designing.
Yeah.
That should be their
I got 99 problems, and design ain't one of them.
That's right. Not with 99
Designs.
Designs.
Be the first person. I can't be the first person to have done that.
I don't know. Yeah. But see, we're giving you guys marketing ideas.
Yeah, there it is.
Now you need to come up with a logo for our ideas and integrate it into, all right, there we go. Let's get into apps.
Picked the wrong week to go horse. So one of the interesting things that occurred last week was that Microsoft showed up and gave us Office for Android totally free to use with no more subscription requirement for Office 365.
There we go.
How about that? I didn't see that one coming.
Well, you should know that tomorrow.
Right, exactly. Tomorrow is build, and all the pieces of the puzzle are starting to come together.
See?
But yeah, so they rolled out this new version of Microsoft Office, pretty much embracing the cloud, and offered it for both Android and iOS. So it's now completely free to use, and they're promising an Android tablet version coming soon in the future, which, to me, the tablet version is always the thing that is the make or break for these kind of productivity.
Yeah.
After being on the road with a tablet and a Bluetooth keyboard and trying to get work done, doing it on the phone is doable, but it's you want that tablet experience. So I'll be curious to see what they come out with there. But Microsoft continues to inch closer to Android, and maybe tomorrow's prediction will come true. We'll see.
I'm telling you, sources close to the matter.
Yep.
I can't wait for tomorrow. So there we go.
Crying in the corner, catatonic.
Holy cow, Miriam was right. I never saw this coming. I should have. There you go. I installed it. We'll see if I ever use it. I'm so outside of the Office habit.
At this point, when you're on Android, you're so probably far into Google Docs.
Yeah,
how
right.
Did you ever? Yeah, but
nice to have.
But honestly, there are corporations that are tied into that whole Microsoft infrastructure, and if they had cloud-based applications, maybe they'd use it. And, there you go.
The advantage, I think, is that, like, in a pinch, you can run PowerPoint without it being formatted wrong from your phone with HDMI out.
Right.
True.
Or any MHL. You know what I'm saying?
And uploading a PowerPoint to Google Drive never keeps it always gets weird and wonky. If you build it in PowerPoint, and then upload it to Google. The translate.
It's like
you know.
some guy Google every time he sees that laughs his head off.
Yeah,
He goes,
exactly.
"I got you."
Well, this one, man, I was
This is
thrilled.
relevant to earlier.
This is, I mean, we talked about this on the show so many times. And if Gina were here, I guarantee you she'd be just as thrilled as I am about this. LastPass finally released an update that allows you to insert your ID and password into apps and browsers. So anyone who hasn't used LastPass is aware it's a password manager.
You're fired if you haven't used it.
Which, I mean, is amazing because we have all different passwords on all of our services, right? And it's really hard to, right? I'm nudging you, viewer. And it's hard to kind of keep track of all that stuff. So LastPass is kind of, in the cloud, keeping track of it for you. And it's a very secure, great way to do this. The problem was on mobile, unless you were using their built-in browser or kind of, other hacky things that they had, it was really hard to use this to log into, services via apps or even into Chrome. There's no Chrome plugin, on the browser to do it like there is on the desktop. So it was just very hacky. Well, they finally, they tapped into the accessibility feature, and they call it fill into apps. You have to update LastPass, enable it in the LastPass app, and then go into your accessibilities pane and activate it there.
Yeah.
And once you do, it works exactly like it does on a browser. When you go to log into a Twitter webpage on Chrome, it gives you the little option that says which ID do you want to use, and you can set it for, when you type, like I have my master password on LastPass for any time I enter a password from the book, and you can set it, to like, this master password unlocks it for 3 hours or not at all. You have full control over it. So it's really handy.
It's cool.
And I know Gina was dancing. I saw the news and I was like, that just made Gina very happy. It made me happy too. So. And then you're a new LastPass user.
Not yet. I need to set it up. Though.
Okay,
Today,
all right.
Before the show, I had a password snafu, and Jason was like, "You don't use LastPass?" I'm like, "No, I'm not. It takes too much to set up." But then it was pointed out to me that it doesn't take too much to set up, and then everyone who says that is then pointing, "Wow, that was really easy." So so
lazy.
That
I
might
mean, it's
be
$1 a month, right? So it's a great
it's
service.
the price of a cup of coffee. What are you going to do? No, it's less than a cup of coffee. Price of a cup of coffee in 1986.
It's a price of, I found that on the ground yesterday.
Yeah, exactly.
So there you
what
go.
has happened to our economy? All right.
So there we go.
Let's do an email.
Yeah, let's.
Because give me
let's
more
do that.
things to read, why don't we? Nick writes in and says, "Hey guys, love all that you do. I can't wait to listen every week. We can't wait to talk to you every week. Not sure if this has been covered before, but I just discovered it, and it is a lifesaver. When you are in the My Apps-All portion of the Play Store, you're able to long press on an uninstalled app and then select multiple apps to install. I just got a new phone and discovered this. Saved me tons of time. So there we go.
Yeah, so we've
complained about this a lot.
Well, Chad, I remember when Chad was on the was TDing a way back, I think filling in for Brian when Brian was out, and he made that bombshell reveal of being able to do something like this where you could remove them, I believe, from your list.
Yeah.
And with this update, now you can't remove them from the list that way. So it's like now you can batch install them in that way, but you can't batch remove them. So get both of those capabilities in there.
Were they watching?
I don't know.
They were watching like, oh, wait, that's not right.
That wasn't supposed to be the way that it goes.
Yeah,
but still very cool. Nice that you can batch install because I know, and I'm sure you probably agree, working with so many devices, it's like every time you get a new device,
It's a
you're like,
pain.
these are the things that I have to have on my device if it's going to replicate how I use my device, and installing them all.
I
is
wish
such a pain.
Android, Google would have something in place for that. That would just do it. Like, maybe just, I guess this is what we're talking about.
Right.
The third party to the rescue, right?
Yeah. Well, no, and this is actually part of Play Store, so this isn't third party.
Oh, it's part of Play Store?
Yeah, this is from within the Play Store. You go to your My Apps tab, and you can just kind of long press and install from there. So they've done it.
I think I'd rather have. What would you
Yeah,
rather
but it's
see?
not quite the same because it doesn't save the settings for each app. You still have
That
to
is
log
true.
into each
I see
app.
what you mean.
Yeah, but
No,
That's
that
kind
is
of what
very
I'm
true.
saying. It's like go beyond, kind of combine
Just
the backup
installing.
functionality that works with plain Android devices and the Play Store functionality and I think a third party could probably come up with, there's, Carbonite Backup, whatever it's called. But that's a little too advanced because you need to be rooting.
Or Titanium,
that's
when
what I'm talking about.
it requires
Carbonite
root.
is freaking Windows. Freaking Windows.
freaking Windows, man. Soon to be Android. All right, let's take a quick break. Our final sponsor for today's episode, Prosper. If you knew that in 72 hours you'd have $35,000 to cover your needs, what would you do? Would you pay off your high-rate credit cards, start a business, do that home improvement project? Well, you fill out an easy online application, provide a few details, and see a rate almost instantly with Prosper. Prosper offers low fixed rates, unsecured personal loans, no collateral required, and has multi-year terms available. Start a business, home improvement, high-rate credit card payoffs. Now, screw all that. I'd get a loan, and I'd make the biggest, baddest home studio ever with a loan. Probably not going to happen to me right now because, well, we do have a house to pay for, but still, I can dream, right? I would put all that into an amazing studio and bulk that up. And then who knows what would happen. That's just one of the things. Everybody has that project that would be perfect for this kind of situation. Prosper is Silicon Valley's answer to personal loans. With Prosper's innovative peer-to-peer lending process, there are no outrageous fees, no raising interest rates, and you'll never set foot in a bank. Now, Prosper's more than 2 million members, lenders and borrowers, and over 900 million in funded loans. And, it's peer-to-peer lending, distributed funding of your loan. It makes total sense to geeks and, people in the technology field. You just kind of take what you know about peer-to-peer services online, content delivery, file sharing, streaming media, apply that to the financial world, and it works pretty much the same way. Peers lend that money to you thanks to Prosper. Just go to prosper.com/twit to check your rate instantly without affecting your credit score. For a limited time, Prosper is offering Twit viewers a $50 Amazon.com gift card when you get a loan. Just go to prosper.com/twit. It's a special site just for our viewers. Up to $35,000 in just 3 days, and receive a $50 Amazon.com gift card when you get a loan. Prosper.com is not affiliated with Amazon. For gift card details, visit prosper.com/twit. And we thank Prosper for their continued support of All About Android. Maybe one of these days I'll do it and I'll get an awesome studio at home. An awesome-er studio at home. There we go. All right. I think it's time to battle. What do you think?
Let's do it.
Get in the arena. Let's go.
Battle.
Do it.
So many enter, but only one lives. Android Arena.
I love the role.
So many enter. Ha 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 ha. That's how I would do it if I even tried. It was done much better than that. Let's see here. So last week's poll, it was episode 154, and you guys voted. And I heard a lot on Google Plus and Twitter that this was a really hard one for people to pick on because they just thought that they were all really good selections. Yes. Yes.
That said, fist bump.
Yes. The fists in the air. Link Bubble wins. 43% of the vote, and I have to admit my demo of Link Bubble was not good, so I'm surprised that I won that.
Wait a minute. Wade County in the chat room says the stats of the arena through week 12 is that we are a tie. You have 3 wins, I have 3 wins, Gene has 3 wins, and the guests have 3 wins.
So today is where we
we'll
tip
break
the balance.
tie. Wow.
We break the tie. Although, Gina, I'm sorry that you couldn't be here today because
exactly. Whoops.
you're not going to win, at least at this far through the year.
Good job, Jason.
So, there we go.
Way to get in there. And
so that was Link Bubble, 43%. Fing Network Tools, that was Father Roberts.
Fing? I thought it was effing.
I don't know. That's a really
effing
good
network tools. I thought
that's a really good point. And, it was Father Roberts, so maybe he didn't want to say that.
Yeah, there you go. Fair enough.
41%. And Snapdragon Battery Guru, that was Gina's app, last place at 16%. So there we go. There are no return folks from last week other than me. Does that mean I go first even though I won, or... Ron, you go first.
Here. I'll go first. So let me get out of the way.
Yes, it's your punishment for not being here.
As my punishment before my voice completely quits.
Yes.
All right, cool. So I'm checking on. I'm not a big news guy. I don't really like the news. I don't like reading the news, whatever. But I often drive an hour and a half to come to Twit. I often ride the BART to go to work and things like that. I like listening to things. I like listening to podcasts and things like that. So I discovered this little app called Newsbeat, which is really interesting because what it is it's basically, it creates your own personal news radio. And what's fascinating is that you can identify within the application the topics you're interested in, the news outlets you're interested in. Now, print news outlets, we're not talking like NPR or anything like that. We're talking like, the New York Daily News, San Francisco Chronicle. And then it pulls together these articles, and you press play, and it creates this dynamic on-the-fly radio for you. And really the only way I can show you the app, but the only way to do it is to experience it. So if you see here, it says your news radio is about to start. And it's kind of doing a little update. I had restarted it earlier so that we get the fresh experience here. And I don't know why there we go.
Good evening.
All right.
Ron.
So
There we
basically,
go.
And I am Leslie.
We have 25 stories for you this evening. Here is
Wow.
your traffic update. No major traffic incidents are reported in your area. Right now, the temperature outside is 46 degrees and cloudy.
it gets better.
The forecast for the day is rain. Chance of rain 40%, with a high of 55 degrees and a low of 41 degrees.
Here are the top stories for the day. House Budget Chairman Paul Ryan released a fiscal...
So now I'm going to pause it. So it immediately starts once you start doing the app. You can use the controls here to play and pause, and you can skip stories. There's also, when you go out of the app, and when it's playing, it's not doing it right now, but it does give you control in the notification pane, which is nice. So hitting the hamburger button gives you control. This is where you can customize what you're looking at. So I can give it my info, and I can tell it my name, what city I live in, where my office is, and that's where it's coming up with the traffic and the weather information. I give it my list of topics. I said, these are the topics I'm interested in. So let me adjust my brightness there, Brian. Sorry about that. There we go. That's better. That's better, right? Yeah. So here I said I'm interested in Android. I'm interested in Image Comics, pinball, New York Mets, things like that. And then I could choose the sections of news that I'm interested in. And it gives you an interesting way to choose. There's 3 bubbles, small, medium, and large, depending on how interested you are. So I'm not interested in world news at all, so I gave that a small bubble. But I'm very interested in technology news, so I gave that a big bubble. I'm mildly interested in sports, so I gave that a middle one. But I'm very interested in movies, so I gave it that one. And then you could also filter the publications. So I said, give me San Francisco Chronicle, Newsday back in New York, the, San Jose Mercury News. You can choose the different things. So it's pooling from all those different sources. And so now if you don't want the audio, you can scroll. Hang on, stop. It automatically starts playing. You can scroll through them similar to like a swipe thing, and it gives you this kind of browser, kind of cover flow kind of browser type thing of the stories. So you can read them, or if you're driving, you can just listen. Now, we heard the voice before, and it sounds a little robot-y, and it's very that like, I am a computer, I can read, except there's one voice in here that I swear to God sounds real, sounds completely real, and I got to find it. They rotate through male and female voices in different ones.
Can you set one as a default? Or
no, because they just totally mix it up. So here, so I'm going to go back to
Internet's
playing.
best April Fool's gags.
This one.
Here's a report from CNN. A new digital map helps you find the Pokemon among us. YouTube made a shocking confession. Samsung and HTC advance a world.
That sounds really good.
Isn't that pretty damn
really
good?
Yeah.
Have
Wow.
to take another lonely selfie thanks to the Hoff. It must be April
Thanks to
Fool's Day on
Hoff.
the internet. It's
Like it's got intonation.
really
and it's got,
impressive.
isn't that?
embrace the tomfoolery of April 1st with all the gusto you'd expect.
Thank you, Andy. I had no idea.
We're solid.
Now you know who's
What he's
talking.
doing,
It's
yeah.
Andy Rubin. Oh, it's so good to see you again, Andy. Welcome back to the show.
Challenge, which turns the iOS and Android
Wow.
version of Google Maps into a
That is really good. So is this using their own, or is this using
According to the
Google?
gag.
Google
Or are they
Voice.
serious?
I'm the translate services. I don't know.
To find all
And
25
what I
Pokemon
want to do is
hidden
let's
around
pause
the
it for a
world
second.
will be considered job finalists by
Let's
Google
go down.
and given the
See,
job
there's the
title
notification control.
Excellent.
So, what I want to do is I want to see what it's like, because it says that it utilizes technology that is not intensive on data. So like even when you have bad connection areas. So I'm wondering if they're downloading the RSS feeds of the sources and then using using the translate library to do the reading. Or if they have their own reading or translate or voice kind of,
Right.
I want to see what it's like when I try to commute to work on the BART. I was using this in the car earlier where I was out in the open. When I'm underground, what happens? So
Interesting.
What's super interesting is that they also put in like little transitions, like music transitions. So like it does sound like a radio station. So here, let me go back to this.
and master.
BlackBerry updates BBM with stickers and group photo sharing. Here is a
And
report
then
by
when this guy
Emily
comes
Weiss
out, I'm
of
like,
the
no,
Engadget.
just go back to the other guy.
Admit it.
What's so funny is the credit. They're like, here's a
Sometimes
story
what
by
you need
Emily
to
Price
say
from
is best
Engadget.
expressed through the image.
You know what this reminds me of? This is like a robotic version of Umano. Do you remember Umano?
Yes, it is. Yep.
Report from CNN.
Yeah. Interesting.
So,
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Pasadena mobile games developer Industrial Toys raises $5 million. Here's a report by Andrea Chang of Los Angeles Times.
That sounds really good, right?
Toys has raised $5 million in a round
That's
of
pretty
funding
impressive.
led by
Yeah.
Excel
All right,
Funding.
cool.
So there you go. So that's it. Newsbeat, totally free.
There you go.
If you want your own customized news radio for your commute.
Wow, this is pretty damn awesome. And it'd be hard to beat.
Yeah, Ron comes out swinging.
I brought it.
He brought it today. Miriam, what on earth do you have?
So
that
you know,
could possibly battle?
I couldn't really think of anything. I'm not, as you know, I'm not a huge fan of installing too many apps. But there was, since we're talking about all this great news that's happening tomorrow at Microsoft, all their devices running Android tomorrow.
All of them, every single one.
I thought I would show this app here. Whoa, there we go.
you do have a
Nokia
number.
Mix Radio is an app that is, if you're familiar with any Nokia devices that are non-Android, you will know about. It's kind of their take on iTunes Radio or Pandora or Spotify, etc. And they have a version for the Nokia X, which basically obviously means that it is an APK that you can extract in some way. Unfortunately, it doesn't work if you just extract it. But some wonderful hackers on XDA forums found a way, or wherever it was online, found a way to make it happen. And so if you enjoy Nokia Mix Radio on other devices, if you're like me, you change platforms a lot, this is cool because now your mixes from other platforms are available on Android if you install this hacked APK on your Nexus 5, for example. So that's kind of cool. I'll let you play with it because really the UI is very simple. You have, I don't know if there we go. There's the camera. So you get, like mixes here, featured, which is like today has an April Fool's mix, categories. So you can look for stuff, genres, etc. Like pretty much the obvious stuff. You can also create your own mixes, and like I've got a few of them here that I just quickly created the other day. The nice thing is that you can skip quite a few times. There's also a premium subscription, not on Android yet, but on the other devices, which is higher quality. So it's not based on the, you can skip so many times an hour. It's more like about the audio quality. And the audio quality is not bad to start with. So, basically, it's in my opinion, it's one of the better music streaming, customize your radio station apps out there. And so to see it come to Android has been kind of a delightful experience for me.
So what is it about this service that you like more than some of the other music services?
Well,
like why do you want to be able to install
it lets you save mixes on local storage, which is, you have to understand when it came out, it did a lot of things others have caught up with now, like storing mixes locally, like the Google Play stuff lets you do. Google Play Music. If you have All Access, which I'm a customer of, you can save your stuff on offline. But to me, that was at the time like the big deal because you could like save all kinds of really cool mixes to your phone for like an 8-hour flight or whatever.
Sure.
And then the other thing is, I don't know, the UI is kind of very simple and easy to use. It's very intuitive, and that's what I like about it. It doesn't feel like you're in a music app. You just kind of feel like you're it basically kind of breaks the UI paradigm of all the other music apps out there. This is kind of so it's fresh. And then finally, for a long time when you were on Windows Phone, you really didn't have much of a choice. There really wasn't too much. And so the fact that Nokia has a pretty big reach in terms of ecosystem, from years and years of agreements with all kinds of be it operators or partners, means that they've actually amassed a very, very interesting music library. So it's pretty rich. That's the other thing. You'll find a lot of really cool stuff there, including some pretty eclectic stuff.
Cool.
So, it's not nearly as cool as Ron's app, I have to say.
Oh, well,
But what is cool to me about it is that it's kind of one of the top 10 apps on Windows Phone, I would say, and it's now come to Android. and you can hack it to put it on your Nexus 5 or Moto X or
If you're that type.
HTC One M8, that guy. And so, yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Well, that is, and it's just to be clear, this is not through the Play Store. It's a hacked version.
Sideload.
But you can go to the link that'll be in the show notes. It'll also be in a QR code on the downloaded version. XDA Developers has a page where you can find the APK and install that.
For all you side loaders out there.
Now, mine isn't going to take long here. It's an app called Time Hop, and it's an interesting service. It basically, what it does is it allows you to sync up multiple social networks, and then basically it's like a time, not a time machine, but it's basically looking back in your social history today. So, what did I put out on the social networks last year today, or the year before, or the year before that? For example, my Time Hop today. Let me go ahead and knock down the display a little bit here so it isn't. There we go. Hopefully that's more legible. Was a retweet of Len Peralta, who says, just a reminder, there are still 10 days to fund Ace Detect and my Kickstarter 10 state. Hooray! Now, we all know that funded, and it became a big deal, and it continues on. Another tweet that I put out, I'd say, holy crap, we're having a baby today for April Fools, but then if my wife actually does go into labor, the joke would be on me.
I remember that one.
See?
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you regression. That's my then 3-year-old daughter suddenly sitting in a baby seat because kids do that when a baby is right around the corner. And so that's just Twitter, right? This is all 1 year ago today on Twitter. File this in the that would never happen in real life category. My wife reading a book to my daughter on a swing because the photographer told us to do that. And I was like, when in the world would this ever happen? That somebody would put their kid in a swing and read them a book. That's so weird. Anyways.
It's the teaching multitasking at an early age.
I guess so. So it's just kind of a way to go back in history, back in time, and see today, what else happened. There's, Easter stuff, I guess.
It really is very timely.
Yeah, 4 years ago.
There's that same child.
There's my now 4-year-old daughter, but she's a baby then. Today's the last day she fits in this outfit. Apparently, I take a lot of pictures of my kids, but, that's just what I do. Anyways, it's a great way to just kind of go back in time every day and just kind of relive some of your updates. Because a lot of times, you put out these updates on different social networks, and sometimes you're like, that was a winner. And then they're just gone. They just float away, and you never experience them again.
No, what's funny is like everybody towards the beginning of the year when Facebook did the little make a video of your year or whatever it was, and everybody was like, "Oh, this is so dumb," and then everybody is posting it.
Yeah,
you
right.
could do that every day with this, right? You can relive your great moments.
Yeah, and I mean it's really kind of just out of the way, right? You set it up, and basically you get a notification one time every day. It's like, hey, check out your Time Hop for today.
Remember when?
Yeah.
That's
It's kind of
cool.
a good quick thing. It doesn't have to be anything more than that.
It touches on something we all kind of can relate to, and that's nostalgia.
Yeah, exactly.
Sentimental nostalgia.
I do wish.
Sentimental hogwash.
Hey now, mister, I just want your vote. I do wish that it had Google Plus integration. It does not. And I do wish that it didn't require Facebook sign-on. That's a bummer. And I completely agree with, I think that's actually going to take me out of the running today because a lot of people are adamantly opposed to Facebook sign-on. But there you go.
It's all those Oculus Rift buyers.
Oh, yeah, even more
on
so
the chat
now.
room right now.
Exactly. But anyways, nonetheless, it's an interesting service. I hope that they open it up to more. Oh, you can integrate Instagram as well in there. So it'll just take a look at all your services and show you what you did.
Cool.
Back in time. Gonna go back in time. So there you go. Sorry for the Huey Lewis bomb. 3 apps this week. Which was your favorite? Was it Newsbeat, Nokia Mix Radio, or Time Hop? Go to AAApoll.com/155. AAApoll.com/155 and let us know. Newsbeat comes right out of the gate, roaring with 71% of the votes.
It was that voice. It's that dude's voice. If all the voices were robot-y, but that one
totally
was
got
that
us
one
on that one.
Yeah, we'll see if I have a winner here. I don't know.
Yep, I think you might.
I think in the long tail, Time Hop and Nokia could give me a run for my money.
We'll see.
I'm being humble.
You know what's going to happen? All those Nokia fans are going to come on and
After
vote.
tomorrow.
Watch
yeah,
out.
Yeah, exactly.
They're rabid, especially after tomorrow.
Yeah.
After they announce Android, they'll be angry.
Yeah,
so they'll just go and upvote everything.
Yep, there it is.
Well, I want to thank you, Miriam, both for coming on the show and dropping just a bombshell of
right. Those are news. This is what I'm
that's
talking
totally,
about.
Absolutely.
I didn't
going to
spend 3.5 years in Gadget not to drop good news on you.
happen. Yeah, we'll see how this goes tomorrow. Tell people where they can find you online and what you're up to.
Yeah, so you know that you can find me at Tankgirl, TNKGRL, drop the vowels. That's my Twitter. Also, tankgirl.com is my website. It's really just a blog, and it mostly links to a bunch of YouTube videos of phone reviews I do. And then, I do work for Pebble. And so if, obviously, if you are interested in finding out more about Pebble, go to visit getpebble.com.
A lot of people are very interested in Pebble.
Are they?
Yeah, I think so.
Good.
I think Pebble's rocking right now.
We're doing we're doing pretty good. It's a good time.
I'm jealous of your steel.
Yes, right there.
Yeah.
See, I'm pimping it.
Well, thank you once again
thanks
for coming on.
Thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. And Ron, thank you for being the host of this show.
My pleasure. I'm glad I missed it last week. I was bummed that I missed out, that I had to be getting ready to go to Seattle the next day. I was up. I got 3 hours of sleep Tuesday night because I had like a 6 a.m. flight to Seattle. It was no fun.
That sounds fun.
Had a great weekend. Working at my day job at Image Comics, where we were actually up in Seattle at the Emerald City Comic Con, spreading the gospel about The Walking Dead and Saga and all the other great comic books we've got. And you can see them all at imagecomics.com, our home. We got some great stuff. The graphic novel adaptation of Noah, which is the movie, the number one box office, written by Darren Aronofsky. So some good stuff going on over there at Image. But also, aside from that, you can catch up with me at about.me/RonXO. That's where you got links to all my social media stuff, and you can see my incoherent babbling and that sort of thing.
Excellent. Love incoherence.
Yeah.
Speaking of incoherence, Brian, what you got going?
Keeping busy on Know-How. I was gone last week, missed you guys. But also, in the same vein of earlier in the show, I did a review today on the Nokia Icon. Really cool phone. You can check that out on BYB. Here's a refocus that the Nokia did on the studio earlier today. And then,
nice.
See?
Yeah, so...
I'm pretty sure that Miriam just has a phone generator.
They just pop out of my pocket.
You're just like, which phone do I need right now?
The Nokia
on
Icon,
command?
the last of the Windows phones right here.
Wait
a minute. What's going on?
How did you do that?
This is Poor Schmuck in the chat room says, dude, it's an Android show.
See? I turned it into a Nokia show.
Yes, apparently so.
Suckers.
Everyone gets Nokias. Yeah. What about you, Jason?
Oh, well, thank you for asking, Brian. You can find me at about.me/Jason Howell, music at yellowgoldmusic.com. I'm working on an Android app show. I promise it's in the works and on the way. I've just been really busy, but it is in the works and it's going to happen very soon. So stay tuned for that. I'll let you know all about it, of course. That's it for this week. Leave us a voicemail at 347-SHOW-AAA. You can send us an email or a video mail at aaa@twit.tv. Find the show on Twitter. We are at Android Show. We're on Reddit, twit.aaa.reddit.com. I actually do use that to kind of gauge interest in certain stories. Show notes and past episodes can be found at twit.tv/AAA. You can also find us on YouTube, iTunes. We're on Google+. It's a community. We're all over the internet. It's kind of what we do. And finally, you can catch us live every Tuesday starting at 5 p.m. Pacific at live.twit.tv. Next week, we're going to have a gentleman on from Tumblr, from the Android team at Tumblr. He's going to join us to talk about it. But until then, have a great week. We'll see you next week on another episode of All About Android.
Bye, everyone.
We need an 80s version of the song.
Well, we need
you
need like an old cell phone too.
Yeah, like
one of those big breaks.
Where you pull out the big
break.
antenna. Oh, and see, this is all you ever need to do is say things like that. And suddenly... All right, so...
Do you say we have to go back in time?
Yes. Hello and welcome to another episode of Motorola Weekly. Hey, we've got the best Motorola cell phone that I think they make. It's the Cellular One Motorola phone, and we're going to talk all about it. It's just a fantastic. They have buttons for everything nowadays. What I'm looking forward to is when maybe they can make these buttons have multiple purposes. So, depending on what you want to do, the button says something different. I don't know. It could happen. Probably not. Anyways, we're going to talk all about it up next, a Motorola Weekly.